Aphrodite, Ventus, Chaos, Dionysus, Hera, Hermes, Icarus, Narcissus, Medusa, Ephasos, Ashalalala, Susus, Minerva, Ecobubus. I love it when you couscous. Aphrodite, Ventus, Chaos, Dionysus, Hera, Hermes, Icarus, Narcissus, Medusa, Ephasos, Ashalalala, Susus, Minerva, Ecobubus. I love it when you couscous. Aphrodite, Ventus, Cuscus, Hera, Hermes, Icarus, I love Aphrodite, Ventus, Cuscus, Hera, Hermes, Icarus, I love it when you couscous. Love it when you couscous. Love it when you couscous. Couscous.
Let the bass drop. Yeah. What is up, everybody? It is another day in America. America. Oh, I forgot to get my flag out. I should wave my flag around, right? Where? I don't even know. Where did that go? Let me see where it went. Oh, here it is. Yes. Okay. We'll wave a flag around. There we go. We'll make it. It's a little obscene. Okay. Let's calm that down just a little bit. Yeah. Welcome to a weekend stream, you guys. What is going on? I have to admit, just sitting around with bated breath of just going like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And it seems now we have finally reached the final countdown has finally counted down. We do have most people in consensus with the fact that we have a new president and vice president in the United States, which, of course, we have to wait for the inauguration. We have to wait till the new year. It's going to be a little bit weird here over the next couple of months whilst we navigate the lame duck period. And I do have some concerns about things that are going to happen. But for right now, today is a great day. And I wanted to get on and kind of address some things with people in regards to I'm happy. And you know, I know that a lot of people are like, they're pretty vocal group of people are always like, hey man, you're a fish tuber, don't talk about politics or anything like that. And you know, a big part of my personal belief is starting to at least spread the idea that having conversations about the policies that affect us as human beings on this planet is not something to be shied away from. If you have earnest, honest beliefs in something, you should be able to vocalize that and not get incensed and wild and, name calling and all this kind of crazy stuff. Today is a huge celebration for, I think, just on the sheer standpoint that this will be the first woman elected into the White House. This is a monumental moment in time just on that basis. Whether or not you agree or disagree with the politics of the situation, a woman has actually been elected to the White House, and that for me, firstly, that's just the one thing that I wanted to talk about right off the gate was my lovely daughter right here, at the very least, will grow up in a world where that is not something that doesn't exist, right? When I was a kid, there was the first, I can't remember if she was the first female astronaut or not. And I want to see, first female astronaut. Which was, Sally Ride, right? And it seemed like a big deal at the time, and that was 37 years ago. That was one of the things that I could highlight as a kid, was that we still had these wild barriers in place for what ostensibly is over half of the population in the world. I believe women are 51% of the population, whereas men are 49% of the population. And I think it is a giant moment in time right now to just respect that is something that has changed. Whether you're progressive like me or you're conservative like other people, or maybe you're just a moderate person who's just 100% in the middle on everything. I think that this is a monumental moment for that, for my daughter, and for all of the women in my life. I am just so happy and over the moon on just that aspect, just that little tiny aspect right there. The second aspect that does get me a little bit warm and fuzzy on the inside was just seeing the number of people that voted, but is kind of it's a two-sided coin there, that we seem to have had the biggest voting turnout of all time, and still is only like, I will have to double check the numbers, but the last time I checked was only like 68 or 70% of eligible voters. So, I mean, it's like, oh yeah, that's good. We had a big number, but we didn't get to the 100, or even in the 90s or anything like that. So, is this a 48 star flag? I don't know. The U.S. flag has so many incarnations to it, but maybe it is. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh yeah, it might be. Very well might be. But either way, you get the sentiment behind it, right? So it's a good point. That might be a 48 star flag. This must be from before World War II, when Alaska and Hawaii became our newest states in the Union, which I think Alaska, let's see, years, states joined the Union, USA. There we go. In order of entry. Okay, so we got them all backwards there. Let's see. Hawaii and Alaska were 1959. So, yeah, it was basically 1960, So, This must be from in between 1912 and 1959 flag, I guess. But maybe it's just a shout out to 1912, women's suffrage. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe this was the flag when women's suffrage was going on 100 years ago. It took 100 years to get a woman in the White House, even just as the vice president. So I don't want to count my eggs before they're hatched or that kind of stuff. And I know that this has been a very divisive period in American politics or whatever, like just being in America or around the world, all that kind of stuff. The reality is that, and I've pointed this out numerous times, that we've had a very divisive presidency over the last 4 years that have done a ton of legislation and things like that I wholeheartedly disagree with. I am somebody that can easily and readily argue with people up and down all day long and all that kind of stuff. And I think the reality is, to me, that regardless of those arguments or, name calling or whatever you want to call it, any of that kind of stuff, my position has always been to be moving forward via empirical evidence. If we're talking about economic positions, if we're talking about social positions, if we're talking, whatever it is that we're talking about, if we've gathered some empirical evidence as to what we are doing, we want to move forward with it from an educated position to make the best choice that we possibly can moving forward. Clearly, to me, in this presidential election, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are clearly the choice for me. I understand that there are people out there that want to, more often than not, vilify the other group. That's not necessarily my point. There is a small percentage on either side of whatever political spectrum that you're on that could realistically be counted as villainous people, but that is a very small amount of anywhere in the world. As far as the fish keeping community goes, the economic effects have been astounding against the fish keeping community, whether we're talking about aquariums, whether we're talking about plants, that kind of stuff, even just the tariffs that were placed on imports coming in from other countries and stuff. Still in the year 2020, I have to explain to people that tariffs are paid by American companies. They are not paid by whatever country of origin these things come from. So when we talk about a light fixture that costs $100 and they put a 25% tariff on it, the light fixture still costs $100, and then the U.S. company pays the tariff to bring in that product, okay? It is not these other countries that pay these tariffs. And I have personally noticed the prices of a lot of things going up and making it more difficult as a point of entry for people to get into this hobby that I really deeply care about. Does that protect American companies? I don't think that it does personally. I don't see evidence that it does in the fact of just the agricultural side of side effects that were going on. And hopefully we get some people into the executive branch in the United States that can understand that these decisions are not bilateral. We have so many different groups of people, so many different economic levers going on in the United States that you can't just make a bilateral choice like we're just going to put tariffs on stuff because it comes from another country. And I hope that this is a step in the right direction so that people could have some more regular conversations about things like that without screaming and yelling and losing their minds about how this person is right and that person is right and whatnot. And we can continue to have a conversation about what the actual, economic impacts are for our society if we're going to make a choice on something like implementing tariffs. What does that do to all of the other industries, right? I often hear people that, well, you just do aquarium stuff and whatnot. It's not your place to talk about these things. It's not your place to talk about economics or, societal issues or any of that kind of stuff. Telling me it's not my place doesn't make me stop talking about stuff. And one of the issues is that we have been, as a community in the United States, I think we've been definitely missing the point of gathering the empirical evidence, analyzing what it is that we're going to make a decision on to be able to move forward. My baby monitor. I'm legit doing a live stream right now because Olivia's asleep and I didn't want to start another project. So as soon as Olivia wakes up, the stream will be over. And I think that we're definitely being persuaded without really deeply investigating the necessary information, right? Jorge Sanchez says he didn't put tariffs on other countries just because. And that's a perfect example of a typical conversation that I have with a lot of people, is that you took the time to type in that comment, but you didn't take the time to add any information to that comment in order to say, hey, let's look at this economic report and find out exactly what's going on if these economic levers actually put enough pressure on American companies to actually innovate and change something, like the new North American free trade, the new NAFTA, right? That has gone into place for the workers' rights, so that it would encourage the hiring and moving of manufacturing back to the United States. And it turns out it just gave a pay raise to people in other countries, which I personally, on a personal note, am like, well, that's fantastic that all those Mexican manufacturing workers went from approximately $4 an hour to now they have to pay them $16 an hour. That's fantastic. Like, on a personal social stance, I'm like, great. Those guys in Mexico 100% should be making more money. But why did you write that into the legislation without any kind of, economic mechanism behind it in order to help the American workers, right? $16 an hour is not competitive in the United States in order to create manufacturing here. I was talking about this recently on the Discord, and I've started kind of compiling some of the information in the United States about prevailing wage. Prevailing wage is something that the U.S. government sets a wage in regards to what this wage should be based on every single year. It should be getting incrementally more and more and more and more, right? And a job that I used to do at a private company, if I worked really, really hard and made all my incentives, I would make $21 an hour. If I worked equally hard on a federal job, which we did on a regular basis, I would be paid, I'd have to double check my numbers, but I believe it was, oh crap, let me double check. I think I had posted it in when I had just read about it on the prevailing wage, but I believe it was $43.61. So I made basically 2 times the amount of money just doing the exact same job, working just as hard on the prevailing wage job as I did elsewhere. So, I think that we're at a point right now where most people are so busy running back and forth, running around, sitting in traffic, doing all sorts of stuff. And we're kind of at the point now where we don't necessarily have the time to really educate ourselves in regards to the fact that there are so many layers to the things that we do and the economic things that and how things are affected. A good example was the conversion of the United States policy that if you crossed our border was a civil offense in the past, and always has been a civil offense, like a parking ticket, was converted into a criminal offense. The reasoning behind that was only to basically give money to private companies. The separation of families, as wild as that is, when the headline is that these kids were separated from their families, as wild as that is, it was an economic measure so that the private companies keeping those people locked up were making about $800 per day per person in the jail. And, our private prison systems, it's just an extension of that. And it was literally just so that they could extract money that needed to be paid in order to keep these people locked up. And there was really there's no reason to keep these people locked up. And the other day, on Friday, Thursday, I was talking about most of the arguments that I've gotten from people was, well, we don't know if these are their kids. Well, we have the technology to find that out. It takes between 24 and 72 hours to do a DNA swab on criminals in the United States. It costs $500 at most in any of the states in the United States via the court system in the United States. So this was, you have a bailiff there, you have representatives from the court, you have a doctor come in, do the DNA test, costs $500 per person. This could have all been done to find out who was who's actually whose kids, and that kind of stuff in 24 to 72 hours and be handled. And when I talked to most people, they said I didn't really understand. When a lot of people that I talked to, they didn't understand that crossing the border was supposedly a crime. And before that, like I said, it was like a parking ticket so that we could, it was a civil offense so that we could keep track of people and have a mechanism to go hey, come to court in 25 days or 33 days or however many days it was and come back in. The First Step Act. The First Step Act, let's go and look that up. And as we, just because something in the United States is bipartisan doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. So we've got to take that certainly at, so we'd have to definitely take that at face value. The First Step Act authorizes the defendant and the director of the Bureau of Prisons, the attorney for the government, or the court to make a motion to reduce an offender's sentence. Okay, so the First Step Act authorizes the defendant, the director of Bureau of Prisons, the attorney of government, or the court to make a motion to reduce an offender's sentence. Okay, so within the judicial system that we have right now, yes, you can always make a motion in court. If it's, I would have to look more into the First Step Act. Obviously, there's a lot to read here about it, but yes, this is one of the crime bills that I briefly glanced over at one point in time. Quite a while ago. I think it was 2 years ago when they brought this up. I think in 2018 is when they brought it up. But I think it doesn't do a lot what most people think that it actually does anything. And a lot of things that were passed in by the administration doesn't really have any mechanism of punishment. So that's like kind of the issue is like if people are out of order with past legislation, you need to have a mechanism in place to do something about people disobeying it, essentially. During the Obama administration, we didn't have as much reduction in prison use. So, a downward adjustment in drug sentencing that cleared the United States Sentencing Commission, USC, during the Obama administration resulted in a nearly half again as much reduction in prison use, 146%, as resulted first year. And finally, including the downward adjustment in drug sentences, Obama-era reforms resulted in more than double, 230%, the FSA's reduction in prison use in its first year. So, obviously, you have to take that kind of with a grain of salt, but because I have to look up and find out with the sentencing. If people want to know, I'm on the Sentencing and Law Policy Project, which is something that generally pops up whenever I look up prison stuff because it's something that I look up a lot. But you know, as an example like that, we need to kind of weigh the checks and balances and think about exactly what it is that we're doing, and as a progressive, what are we going to do as we're moving forward? And as we've seen in just this last election in Oregon, we've I'm not in Oregon. I'm in Washington. I'm just north of Oregon. A lot of the same cultural stuff goes on along with legal stuff and those kinds of things. But we just saw in Oregon they passed to decriminalize personal use of basically everything. So we'll see as it goes on. I think I think it should be pretty rare that people that are committing crimes that aren't violent or anything like that should even be put in jail. It doesn't make any sense to me to put people in jail unless you're trying to make money off them being in jail. You know, that's really what happens. Colin Barsby says gaslighting is now a subject that is front and center in our lives, and importantly, it has highlighted the necessity to develop critical thinking and identify with clarity the source of information. Yeah, so that's kind of my big point, is more so along the lines of, like, I'm not so concerned about the headline stuff. Like, I am more a person that's involved in trying to find the minutia of decisions, right? And if the minutia of decisions kind of put us in a 90% beneficial direction, and you go, but what about this 10%? It's like that 10% is bad. We should figure out how to address that moving forward so that we could continue to move forward. And that's the same way that I generally operate in my day-to-day business and the entirety of my life. That's generally how I like to just operate. And that's kind of the thing that I would like to continue to communicate as time goes on here. And that's kind of my whole thing. Janice Lumberg with a $5 super chat for the winner. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for the super chat. I 100% appreciate it. And, you know, the reality is, like, it's very difficult to take somebody like Donald Trump seriously when he goes up on stage and says that he did Veterans Choice, which he didn't. That was 100% Obama and Biden. You know, so a lot of this stuff we would really need to look into get to the bottom of it and really find out what's going on. If Donald Trump did prison reform and it was a good thing, that's awesome. Like, I am not critical of people, you know, that do good things. I want people to do good things, regardless of what goes on. You guys know that I'm a person that is in recovery for drug and alcohol abuse for many, many years of my life. I never have claimed that I'm some kind of perfect example of perfection or anything like that. I'm a human being. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. I continue to try and do better, and that's what I want from my representative government, what I want from the community that I live in at large and the community that I'm involved with online. We're definitely all going to have differences of opinion. We are all, oh, hold on. I gotta hit the, I'm going to cough. Oh, I got a bit of a frog in my throat. That was weird. Excuse me. But that's my goal moving forward, whether it be online, whether it be in person, whether it be our representation from our governance, right? And we're all definitely going to disagree on certain things. That's the real thing that I want to help communicate with people, is just going like, yeah, I'm sure we disagree on things. How can we move past that? And one of the things that I have found is a lot of people that I have known have been pushed to the point in their political agenda that they will write off things like violence that I don't write off as a simple thing just because it happened in some other country or anything like that. Dwayne Kitchell says, no COVID, Joel. I don't have COVID. I've been tested, I want to say 4 times, I think. I have a upper respiratory issue that I am continuing to deal with this year, and it's definitely given a lot of it's definitely been a lot of back and forth with the pandemic that's been going on this year. So we'll it's up, my guy. Good to see you on. Let's see, it's Sunday where you're at. Yeah. Janice Lumberg with a $10 super chat says, "Thank you, Joel, for this special live stream. The best history channel. I'm not the best. I try. I really try to educate myself as much as possible on a regular basis. I do spend a lot of time reading and researching and trying to like hunt things down. I do think at some point in time, I probably will. I think at some point in time, I probably will start some, some specific projects, that I had kind of planned on this year, but the pandemic made it kind of impossible to collaborate with people. Most of the travel and everything all got canceled, obviously, and that kind of stuff. So we shall see. We shall see if at some point in time I can start making some more content along those lines. But yeah, obviously the pandemic schedule does not work well for adding stuff in. It really is just like an 18-hour day every day. It's been a little bit wild, but it's all right. Hard work and being busy is just hard work and being busy, Colin says, as Australians, we know the role our Rupert Murdoch has played in commercializing disinformation. We know the role our Rupert Murdoch has played in commercializing disinformation for political strength / power. Funnily enough, he learned you can make money at the same time doing it. Yeah, it really is. I don't know where to start to address some of the misinformation campaigns from these companies that exist. I've regularly argued with lots and lots of people about people like Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens and stuff like that are literally just on the payroll to sell misinformation to people. And it seems that is much easier to do from that sort of hyper-conservative position to get like financial backing to do that. I have, pretty much done everything I can to not have some kind of corporation backing me up to try and make sure that we're 100% fan funded and stuff like that. Whether or not that's the right decision or not, I don't know, but that is something that I'm going to stick to. That's something that I'm going to stick to because it's more of a personal decision than it is like a financial business decision. It's literally, that is something that I believe in, and I would rather be the I would rather be personally, I would rather be the small punk band that plays small shows at bars and stuff like that sticks to their morals and their scruples, and then be a band that plays giant concerts that is literally misbehaving at the drop of a hat in every single city that they happen to go to. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't, and I talked about it yesterday, that doesn't mean I wouldn't make something for Disney or whoever, right? I certainly would if it was the right thing to do. But, it's, and I don't know what the mechanism is that could be put in place or something like that to help, slow down some of the misinformation so that people will have an opportunity to just go like, hey, whoa, what am I reading? What is this video I'm watching? What's the thing that's going on here? Like, what's behind all of this messaging that you may or may not be taking in? I don't know what the answer is. I wish I did, because I would 100% tell it to you guys, but I really don't. I know that freedom of speech is 100% one of the biggest and most important things about being an American in our Constitution. It's right there. It's number one. And to try and amend that would be total insanity as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know what the mechanism is. If you listen to Joe Rogan, he says to combat bad speech is to just, give good speech, and that will cancel it out. The unfortunate part is that I think we see more often than not, someone is able to throw out 10 pieces of misinformation that take a half an hour for each individual one to inform somebody on why that's disinformation. The pick yourself up by your bootstraps thing, and I've talked about this before, like it's something that you hear a lot, and the pick yourself up by your bootstraps is literally a saying from America that it's impossible to pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Yet people go around saying, just pick yourself up by your bootstraps. It's literally impossible. But to try and explain to people like what it is that they're talking about there, they say, no, it's the other thing. And then it takes me an hour and sharing with people like where it came from. So here's an example. Though not so palpably absurd, it is still of the same character as the efforts of the man who should essay to lift himself up by his boots, reads a line from the North American Review in 1867, right? That doesn't even read well, to just read it out loud from somebody talking in 1867, and they wrote it in. Oh crap. I have to split this into two comments. So let's go like this. Copy, cut, boom, and then Control V. There. It's like, where did this saying come from? And then it's going to take me a bunch of time to show you. The Oxford English Dictionary cites James Joyce's Ulysses, 1922, as the earliest example of this phrase, and it appears to illustrate the contemporary meaning. There were others who had forced their way to the top from the lowest rung by the aid of their bootstraps. So, but in 1931, a volume of Pattern Maker's journal notes, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, shake off your cloak of indifference and voluntary serfdom. You know, you start to realize that, like, this was an absurdist point of view, that it was an impossibility that then got shifted into a political talking point that it is your job to just pick yourself up and make your own way, and that individualism is what will take you down the path of becoming Jeff Bezos, billionaire, whatever, right? And the unfortunate side of it is somebody says, just pick yourself up by your bootstraps. And then they just, bam, you get smashed in the face with this whole litany of a situation that could only be explained that you telling somebody else that it's their own fault that they're not doing well. And to explain the history of it, hi, babe. Come here. My babe's here. She wants to say congratulations to Joseph R. Biden and Kamala. Get deep in the...
Congratulations to our new president and our new vice president.
It's a good shirt.
I'll be taking the baby monitor now.
Everything's fine. I was about to go wake her up.
Okay. Well, I'll get her.
Okay.
Okay. I missed. I missed.
I shall kiss you on your eyeball.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's realistically, just a very small example of, like, here, read all this stuff to find out the root of pick yourself up by your bootstraps, right? Whereas, people just, people just yell out this commentary that it's like, it's this person's fault because they're not doing well. Instead of going, well, how can we help our fellow human beings? Let's go, and that's really where certain things like that just kind of hit me in the face, and I'm like, oh man, anyhow, I'm super excited that Joe Biden's in office. I'm super excited that Kamala Harris is in office. We have like 2 months here of dealing with the nonstop news cycle, dealing with the pandemic, dealing with the economic crisis that is barreling towards us at a real wild pace. And yeah, but it's a light note, it's a light moment. Did I say hi to everybody? I should say hi to everybody real quick. I saw Pipex was first to the chat. I saw Jake Hussey was here. Husey. I don't know how to say Jake's last name. It's New Zealander. I don't know how to speak New Zealander. We have 900,000 people watching today, and I'm supposed to like button or something. I don't know. Hit the like button or whatever. Let's see. Bye-bye. Da-da-da-da-da. Do I look relaxed? Yeah, I do look relaxed. I'm kind of chill today. We went and kind of did some run around. We did some errands and stuff all morning and everything. And yeah, I am just kind of chilling right now. It's a pretty chill moment to just be able to go like, and finally just calm down from this insane presidency. Yeah, it was a great way to end the workday. I do have some work to do. I gotta go cut and bend some metal and paint some parts before it gets too late, because I need those parts to dry for tomorrow. So, yeah. Dwayne Kitchell says the whole country needs a course in rational thinking and discernment. These things are purposely not being taught to our kids anymore. I would definitely have to disagree with that. I think they are being taught. I think they are being taught critical thinking. I just don't think that. I don't think it's something that is necessarily considered important by our society. I think it definitely is. It is being taught in school, for sure. But I just don't think it's something that is like a critical function that necessarily is pushed to the forefront by our like fellow citizens. I don't think in society it's not really that important. Going for coffee. Ooh, good times. That's my favorite thing. I like going for coffee. I want to go for coffee always. Psycho Billy Tarot. I want to say W.K. Wentz Enterprises. Reminds me of the time the actor Craig T. Nelson complained, "I've been on food stamps and welfare. Did anybody help me out?" No. Yeah. Perfect example right there. It's like, I've been on food stamps and welfare. Is anybody helping me out? It's like, no. Everybody's having a hard time. Everybody in the world is having a hard time. Jeff Bezos, I bet, has a hard time dealing with his company. We're all having a hard time, but we're all part of a community in this world, and we're all going to try and keep moving forward as best we can. And through community is essentially going to be the best way to do it. That's just going to be the best way to do it. There is no other way that humans know how to do it. And this individualism is just nonsense to try and keep people separated from understanding other people very well. You know, it really is. Christine Kaiser is here saying, "Hi, everyone. Feeling great," which is, I agree. I feel great about it, too. Jamie Wadden says, "Critical thought isn't something a teenager is capable of processing, not something schools can do, in my opinion." Teenagers are 100% capable of processing critical thought. I mean, I saw evidence of it over and over and over again, especially growing up. Yeah, I mean, critical thinking can be applied by children, by old people, people that don't know it can learn. It really does exist, and it's definitely something that teenagers can do. I've never seen evidence that they're not capable of processing. I think what we normally see as teenagers ignoring critical thinking is because they're a real hormonal mess, and generally speaking in the United States haven't really had that many negative interactions from their consequences that could be really substantial. I mean, somebody that's like 14 years old hasn't lost a mortgage. You know what I mean? So, generally. And, we just kind of see them as like, oh, those kids over there. Sebastian Saint says, "Critical thinking, in my opinion, is not to be critical of other opinions, but much more to be critical of one's own thoughts and ideas." Well, critical thinking is basically breaking down and analyzing the element of what it is of the topic that you're talking about. So, like, where the origin comes from, what decisions were made over time in regards to whatever it is, right? So, as a parallel to the aquarium hobby, when I was a kid, they say, get a goldfish, put it in a tank, and once a week, dump all the water out and clean out the tank with either soapy water or bleach or whatever. And then over time, evidence was introduced that this is incredibly unhealthy for fish. And it took time for people to come around to the idea. But I still know old timers that talk about, you set up a new aquarium and you buy feeder fish and use those to cycle the aquarium. I still know people say that. I mean, up until I think the most recent one I saw was like maybe 2 months ago or something, and they just got blasted on the internet for even saying it, but which is generally appropriate. You're really just sending those fish to their death, you know. It really, it really boils down to, introducing evidence, analyzing the evidence, finding the source of that evidence, making a decision based on the collected evidence to move forward with whatever it is that you're going to do. JT Zamora says that flag has 48 stars. Yep, it does. We've had that pointed out earlier. It's a flag from 1912 or 1920, women's suffrage. Right? 100 years till 100 years ago, women got their right to vote. 100 years until a woman into office. Yeah. Boom, boom, boop, 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 boop. We got it, right? Yeah, we got it. My statement was related to the disinformation campaign that has been going on in the country for the last few decades. Well, it's definitely been going on for at the very least 50 years, 60 years in the United States, for sure. So it has been an ongoing situation that we're definitely going to have to deal with in some way. Let me find what it was that Dwayne was saying earlier. Let me find your comment from earlier. The whole country needs a course in rational thinking and discernment. These things are purposely not being taught to our kids anymore. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that it's purposely not being taught to kids. I mean, it just seems that it is being taught to kids. Just in our day-to-day interactions in society, it's not important. It's normally just the loudest buffoon wins, realistically. In our society, in America, like the most outlandish, crazy person is the one that gets the headlines, right? So, but I think it has more to do with our society. We all want to see train wrecks, and why is there a traffic jam at the front of the traffic jam? Like, what happened? So like I said, I'm not sure what the change is going to be or what it is that could change some of that, but it is a concern. Colin says taking a fish tank outside once a year to clean it was a thing back in the day. Thank goodness we progressed. Yeah, that's the thing. They wanted when I was a kid, you'd take a goldfish and you'd put it in like a 1.5 gallon fish bowl. And they wanted you every week to dump the water out and clean everything with like soap and water and bleach and stuff, and then put it all back in there, and like boom, boom, that fish has got a clean bowl, and that just ain't gonna work, dude. That's not good. Governments always make textbooks, so it's really their perspective. I don't have any specific mechanism off the top of my head to argue with that one way or not, but our educational system definitely does need reform. It was set up in the 30s so that people could work in factories, and that's basically what the agenda was. I mean, that's why you go for 8 hours a day. Most school days are like 8.5 hours with a lunch break in the middle, and then there's these little breaks in between the lunch break, which is strangely exactly like our work day. If you get older and go to work, it's generally what people's work days are structured like. It's not a coincidence with any of that. All right. Anyhow, I think we celebrated. We did all that. I think our memberships are about the same. I think we kind of celebrate. I'm excited. I'm excited. That's all I just really want to get down to. But I just want to say I love you guys, and I hope that people out there on the other side aren't too incensed or freaked out or anything like that. And I hope everybody on on the more progressive side aren't don't celebrate too hard. We've got a ton of work to continue doing. We are not at the end. We are in the middle. We're just always in the middle of our existence. We got to continue moving forward with all of the things that we do, whether it be economic or societal or any of that kind of stuff. And hopefully we can continue rocking and rolling and moving forward. And I will talk to you guys and gals and ladies and gentlemen on the other side of Monday.
Aphrodite, Ventusca, Osteonisus, Hera, Hermes, Icarus, Narcissus, Medusa, Ephasos, Ashalalala, Susus, Minerva, Ecobubus. I love it when you couscous. Aphrodite, Ventusca, Osteonisus, Hera, Hermes, Icarus, Narcissus, Medusa, Ephasos, Ashalalala, Susus, Minerva, Ecobubus. I love it when you couscous. Aphrodite, Ventus, Hera, Hermes, Icarus, I love Aphrodite, Ventus, Hera, Hermes, Icarus, I love it when you couscous, love it when you couscous, love it when you couscous, couscous, couscous. I love it when you cook it. Love it, 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 love it.